All right, this is the lesson video for Algebra 1, Unit 1, Skill 6, and this deals with prime numbers, prime and composite numbers. So a prime number, and as the kind of first thing you need to understand, a prime number is a number that's not made up of multiplying other numbers. So, for instance, all the numbers that you see here in yellow circles are considered prime numbers. For instance, you can't multiply two other numbers to make 11. The only way to multiply to make 11 is to do 11 times 1 to get 11. However, in the other hand, just as an example, the number 6 can be made by multiplying 2 and 3. And so 6 is a composite number along with all the numbers that are in white. Let me clear that. So the first part of the lesson, the first couple questions are just asking you to identify composite or prime numbers. It'd be helpful for you to start to be able to identify some of them, just so that you know when you found a prime number, especially kind of these first two rows, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19 maybe. And then of course, you'll start to figure out as you go when you have a prime number or not. For instance, every other even number besides 2 is already eliminated from being prime because they are all divisible by 2. I can multiply 2 times something to get all of those numbers. Of course, then you have 5. Anything that ends in a 5 can be multiplied by a 5. Can be found by multiplying times 5. And so you see how easy it is to eliminate so many of these numbers from being prime just based on some basic ideas about multiplication. But that's not really the point of what we're doing here. So let's jump over to our other screen. Let me erase that. And let's talk through what it means to do what they call prime factorization. Prime factorization. I'll just put prime factors. So prime factors are when we take a number that we know is not prime, like maybe even a large number, and we break it down into its prime parts. So let's choose a very basic example, one we already looked at, which is like 6. If I want to do a prime factorization of 6, what I'm doing is I am looking for numbers that multiply to make 6. So we can start there and say, okay, and you can use a calculator if you need to, but we know that 2 and 3 multiply to make 6. And then I look at the numbers I found after that and say, is 2 a prime number? And it is a prime number. So that is done. And look at 3. Is 3 a prime number? Yes, it is. So then that's done. So this is what we call the prime factors of 6. 2 times 3. Now, it can get a little bit more complicated than this if the numbers get larger. So let's look at another number. Let's say I'm given the number 36. Draw a line down here. And I want to break that down into prime factors. So let's go over here and let's say, okay, what are two numbers that multiply to make 36? Just off the top of my head, I think 3 and 12 multiply to make 36. We know 3 is prime, so that one's done. And then I look at 12, and 12 is not a prime number. 12 is a composite number. So let's jump back over. Erase that. Let's jump back over. And we see that 12 needs to be broken down. So 12 can be broken down into 4 and 3. Again, 3 is prime, so that helps. And I'm left with 4. 4 is a composite number. So we're going to come back over here and we're going to go, okay, well, what can 4 break down into? And we're going to go further. We're going to keep going. And we keep doing this to every number there is until you cannot do it anymore. For instance, right now, I found 2 and 2. So I can see I have 4 circled numbers, 4 ends of my little branches. And so my numbers, and we tend to write it this way, 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. Notice I started with the smallest numbers, 2 times 2 times 3 times 3, and wrote it all out like this. So that would be what you would call the prime factorization of 36. And so this is what you're going to be doing in the second two problems of your unit, which is to take these numbers and break them down. You can just guess. So like if you weren't sure about 36, just divide it by 2 and start there. Or if that doesn't work, divide by 3 and keep going until you can't divide it anymore. And once you get those numbers that are the end, you write them out, and that is your answer.